Well, hello everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and Sawadee Ka from the beautiful island of Koh Samui. And I wanted to come on here and answer one of the biggest questions that I have seen on my channel and also in person when I meet people from all over the world. And this question actually comes more from women than it is from men. But I felt that it was important to get on here and address. I have a few little notes, and sometimes I feel like it's really important for me to kind of jot down some responses over a few day period than to just pop on and just kind of just spew answers, or just spew information that I really haven't taken like a few minutes to think about or contemplate. And one of the biggest questions that I get asked, and I got this asked when I started through hiking by myself, when I was still in the States, and now that I'm traveling in Southeast Asia, is what is it like to travel solo as a female? And that's going to be a question that is going to be answered on an individual basis. I think your personality, your experience in life, your age, and just your experience in general, even at a younger age, if you have been exposed more to traveling as part of your growing up, then when you get to this point, it's not as scary. And I can tell you, I have been here at the retreat now for a couple weeks, so we've had different groups come through now that changed over last week. And it's very different from being in the US, and that what I'm finding is people that live in Europe, people that live in this part of the world here in Asia, they generally just travel more. When they take holiday, they go to another country, they go to another place, they experience a different culture. And I believe that part of the reason is coming from the United States. The United States is so huge. And so we tend to stay in our own backyard a lot because it's a monetary investment, and it's also a bigger time investment to travel to, say, Europe and to travel to Southeast Asia. So we tend to be able to find the things that we like within our own country. So then when you're kind of thinking about, or you have someone in your life or someone that you run into that is traveling the world on their own, especially as a female, it's kind of can be a little bit mind-boggling when you're coming from the US. However, the women that I'm here with, this is just a normal holiday. For most of them, they get their vacation off from work and they're like, which country and where am I gonna go visit? One of the great things, and many of the great things about me choosing this retreat, is that the majority of the people here are solo. And because it has the wellness capacities associated with it, whether that be yoga, breath work, strength training, whatever, we all have a commonality. So it's brought us together as individuals. And then the frosting on the cake is just us being from all over the world and kind of learning what are things like in your country, how do things work in your country. So it's been wonderful. I am on my 5th week at the time that I'm making this video. I have been in Thailand specifically now for 5 weeks and 1 day, and I stayed a few days in Bangkok. I've been in Chiang Mai. I am now down in the lovely island of Koh Samui. So let's talk about what are the pros and cons about traveling as a solo female. And some of these can actually transfer over to whether you're female or male. It doesn't really matter. But there are obviously some components. And if you are a solo female traveler and you have traveled solo, because I'm relatively new, please, if there's things that I haven't experienced yet or addressed in this video, please put them below in the comments. Like, what are your experience? What are your tips and tricks and so forth? So first, let's talk about the cons, because I always like to talk about the things that are a little bit more challenging first. And probably I would think one of the biggest things is obviously missing your family. So if you are, if you're a short distance away, that makes it easier. It obviously makes it easier to visit. I am a 27-hour trip away by plane and all the expense that comes along with that. I do get asked the question a lot, don't you miss your family and how do you deal with that? And, I miss my family, and I love my family very much, and I miss them very much, and I'll be going home in a few months to visit. But you know what? Our internet, the ability to have the internet, that is not something that I had growing up. If you missed somebody, you had to handwrite a letter, and they got it a week or 10 days or 2 weeks later. If you wanted to speak with them, you had to pick up the phone, and you were paying by minute. So having the ability of the internet in this day and age and be able to FaceTime somebody, message them, text them, send them current pictures, all of those kind of things has really bridged the gap, of when you kind of go on a trek like this and you're so very far away from your family. So, with all the things that we talk about, maybe, technology and what it's brought, there are some good things, and I believe that it's kind of like united our world and made it a lot bit less scary. Maybe scarier in some ways, but less scarier in others, depending on what you're talking about. So do I miss my family? Yes, I miss my family, but I'm able to text them. I'm able to send them a picture. They're able to send me a picture. I think the other con that I probably have is I haven't really found myself alone a lot, so I don't really struggle with the being alone part, because I've booked daily excursions and I'm with other people and I've met other people. I'm here at the retreat and I'm making relationships here. I was at Elephant Nature Park and really connected with Carla and Sandra there, and so I haven't really felt alone a lot. What I think the definition of loneliness for me is not having somebody that I'm being able to share all of these experiences, share these memories with, that they have their perspective and experience and I had mine, and we're able to kind of talk about that together and look back on that as memories. So I think that would be kind of my definition of the loneliness in regards to there, but I don't have a problem coming back to my room and being alone, or meditating alone, or going to a coffee shop alone, or whatever. So that's that's kind of my definition and my perspective on how I look at it. Let's see. So what are the pros? One of the biggest pros is I don't have to check in or worry about anybody but myself. If I don't feel like getting up until 10 o'clock or rolling out of bed until 10 or 11 o'clock, I don't have to worry about that I was going to meet somebody, or we're going to go do something together, or they're waiting on me or whatever. So that's a positive thing. And also that I can just do what I want, and I can do what I want on a whim. If it's, I'll give you the perfect example. When I went on the Viator trip, it was the nighttime temple trip in Chiang Mai. I booked that the morning of. I actually think I booked that about 2 or 3 hours before they would pick me up. And my reasoning was I didn't really have any plans. I wasn't going to be in Chiang Mai much longer, and it was going to be a beautiful, clear night. And that was a big deal because it had been cloudy and rainy. So I didn't have to check in with anybody. I was able to say, you know what, I made the decision. I'm going to go. I'm going to do this. And I was just able to do it. But then also a pro, which is kind of like the opposite of the con, talk about being alone. A pro is a pro to that is being alone as well, and having that time to just kind of let things within you and in your life and that happen through your life to just kind of just settle down and just kind of wash away. And so when you're alone and you don't have all those external things around that are always pulling you and pushing you and twisting you in different directions, you're able to just kind of heal, I guess, in a different way. So being alone can be a pro and a con that shows up on both sides. And I think, I could probably make a list of 100 things if I really sat down or even Googled it. I chose the things that stood out in my mind the most. So the cons can, obviously missing my family. And I think part of that is because I'm so far away, that it's not easy to just make a trip home. And, then to, being alone, not having somebody to share some of the experiences that are part of my regular life. And then summarize the pros, obviously being alone, that's a pro as well. being able to do what I want, when I want, on the fly, or nothing at all. And not having to check in or worry about anybody but me. It's like, if my laundry's dirty, it's my laundry I gotta take care of. And if I need water, I need to go get water. Like, I'm not relying on anybody else. I'm just taking care of the things that I need to take care of for me as they need to be. Now, let's go to, how do you feel safe? Now, remember, when I started this YouTube channel, I was hiking in the woods by myself. So some of the things that I learned from hiking in the woods by myself, sleeping overnight by myself in the woods, hiking for days and days, technically by myself, are the same things that I'm going to discuss here. So the number one thing that I can say is, if you can educate yourself and have an open mind, and I watched many videos like I'm delivering to you right now before I started doing those things, and that's kind of how I put together the things that I felt that I needed to do, and then I implemented those. So I just educated myself. And what do I need to do to stay safe? Like, what do I need to, what type of communication? How do I need to make sure my phone works wherever I need it to? Or how do I need to make sure that things stay like charged so that I don't run out? What are the areas like? Like, what are the neighborhoods like? What are the cultures and the customs of where I'm going to be? Making sure that I have the ability to communicate properly, making sure that I know how to set up transportation as needed, like all of those kinds of things. That's part of educating yourself when you're choosing to go somewhere, right? And if you give yourself a little bit of education like that in the forefront, it makes it less scary when you get there, because you have a small sense of what to expect. Obviously, until you're there, that it is what it is until you're there. I've kind of like had this saying that I say, that you don't know, and I don't know if somebody wrote this and I heard it in my subconscious, but you don't know what you don't know until you know. And so the years that I spent watching people moving to Thailand, the years that I spent watching females hike solo, all of those years of watching all of that, and now that I've been doing it, now I know what I really didn't know, because I've experienced it. And educating myself was the first priority. The second thing is, don't be afraid. Right? I mean, I don't need to expel on that. Don't be afraid. Make a decision. Educate yourself, and then make an educated decision, and then just go with it. Are you going to be nervous? Possibly. Are you going to be scared? Possibly. I mean, I remember that day I got on the plane. I remember that day that I got dropped off at the airport to get on the plane to come to Bangkok, and I'm like, I'm really doing this. Like, I wanted to do it for 4 years. I've been filling myself with doing it for 4 years. Now I'm doing it. And was I scared? Yeah, I was still scared, because I was stepping so far outside of my comfort zone. So don't be afraid. And if you educate yourself enough, that will lessen that fear. Start small. Like, just go 100 miles away from your home and get a hotel for a weekend somewhere, and go out to dinner alone. Go on some sightseeing thing, like, go take a walk in a park. It doesn't need to be grandiose, right? It just needs to be something that you hadn't done, to kind of give you a little taste of that. And that, if you start taking little tastes of stuff like that, that's where that desire grows. That's where that fear starts to wash away, and you just start to love it. Be aware of your surroundings. I shouldn't even have to say this when you're traveling, because as a woman, anywhere in the world, you should always be aware of your surroundings, right? Whether you're a small child or whether you're a grown woman, you should be aware of your surroundings. I go to the grocery store in the United States, I'm aware of my surroundings in broad daylight. I mean, it's just part of it's really creating just those habits and being aware, and you're going to carry those habits that you should already have with you when you travel solo. And then my number one thing that I will say on traveling solo, it's not really a how to stay safe, but my number one thing that I will say to you is, Don't listen to anyone that hasn't traveled on their own and doesn't have a passport or doesn't have any stamps in it. Because we can all find something wrong with everything, but that's a perspective, right? And I talk a lot about a perspective and how we look at things. Or you can look at it and say, where's the beauty? Where's the magic? And if you focus on that, then that will just change your mindset. All right, so let's recap. How to stay safe. Just educate yourself. Educate yourself about traveling alone, okay? The country you're going to go to, the people, whatever. And don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. Don't let fear stop you from having a beautiful life. Start small. Go overnight to a hotel. Go overnight to a hotel 20 minutes from your home, and you'll see it may not be as bad as you think. Be aware of your surroundings, which you should do that whether you're traveling abroad, traveling outside of your neighborhood to a different state, or just going to the store. And then my number one thing is don't listen to anybody that has not left their home, that doesn't have a passport or doesn't have stamps in their passport and hasn't actually experienced it. Because I can tell you, I have been here 5 weeks and I have talked to so many people that have traveled by themselves, whether it's for pleasure or for work. And do they have places that they maybe not go back? Absolutely. You have that anywhere. But I have never heard anybody say, I'm not going to travel anymore because it's terrible. I'm not going to go to a new place because it's terrible. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Don't listen to anybody that doesn't have a passport, or if they have one and the pages are blank, don't listen to them. All right, I hope this video finds you well. I hope this answers some of the questions that you may have about the fact that I am traveling right now, Southeast Asia, as a solo female traveler. And if you have tips and tricks, please put them below. If I didn't address anything that you might have questions about, please answer below. I'll continue to do more videos on where I'm staying and things like that that'll give you some more knowledge and education to be able to travel. I'm a little stationary right now being at the wellness retreat, but that's going to change in the next week. But for now, take care, everybody. Be well and have a wonderful day. And thanks for watching. Thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. All right. Bye, y'all.